Tewksbury Conservation Commission. Today is May 25th, 2022. I call this meeting to order. Chairman Dana Ronan is not here today, so I'll be filling in. No minutes to approve. First order of business is agenda item A, request for a certificate of compliance, Tewksbury Village Condominium LLC on behalf of Gary U. Hodges, 313 Marston Street, Assessors Map 20, Lot 29, DEP file number 305-1127. Is there anyone here for that?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dick Cuco from Woodland Design, representing the applicant. Project has been completed in accordance with the plans. The markers have been set at the 25-foot no disturb zone. The grass has been planted. It's hasn't quite been mowed yet, but it's seems to have taken hold. I believe Joe's gone out and looked at it and met with the client, so we're hoping to get a certificate of compliance. They have a closing coming up in a couple of days.
Joe, do you have any comments?
Yep, so I did go out to the site in the presence of the applicant. All the 9 proposed buffer zone markers were established as per the site plan for the original order of conditions. The grass was stabilized, the structure was built as per the site plan, or at least in its location. So I have no issues.
Anyone else on the board have any questions, comments?
The only thing I have, the as-built was submitted to the planning department too?
They don't need one for this.
They don't need
The
one.
building department, yes, but
Yeah.
the planning board didn't have to
But
get
it
one.
has been submitted?
Yes, sir.
too. Okay. I know they're always looking for those.
Yeah, actually, we have to do 2 now because after the decks are put on, they want to make sure that the decks don't encroach. So we do the first as-built to get the building permit going, and then before an occupancy permit, now we have to do a second as-built. So that way they know that the decks and the stairs and everything aren't encroaching into any setbacks.
Okay. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else?
I'm good.
Oh, good.
Can I get a motion to issue a complete certificate of compliance for the project?
I'll make that motion for the as-built plan from March 24th, 2022.
Can I get a second? Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do we want to table agenda item B for now?
Sure.
Moving on to agenda item C, request for determination of applicability, Anne Marie and David Mead, 110 French Street, Assessors Map 9, Lot 68. Anyone here for that, please step up. Please introduce yourselves for the record.
Hello, my name is Chrysula Varadakis. I am the architectural designer for the screen porch and deck project at the Meads House. I also represent the design build firm, and we will be building the project as well.
And I'm David Mead.
Do you have any comments, anything you want to present tonight?
Yes, so regarding construction here, the existing location where this is going, there is an existing deck. We will be adding a screen porch in that area. The entire area where this is lawn and it's all fenced in, so we wouldn't be interrupting into any wetland soils. All of the footings that we'll be installing are helical footings. I believe we have 10 footings going in there, so that also will not have any soil disruption in the area. And the deck boards will be spaced to allow for proper water drainage as well.
Thank you. Joe, any comments?
Yep, so they have presented a site plan that has a wetland delineation. I have visited the site earlier this year, and I generally agree with how it was delineated. A portion of the deck will be within the 50-foot no-build zone. However, in accordance with the bylaw, decks are an allowed structure in the no-build zone. I think it's just about 45 feet away from the nearest wetland flag. The porch is about 55 feet away based on this provided site plan. So other than that, if the commission were to issue a negative determination, I would just suggest installing and maintaining erosion and sediment controls, such as a silt fence or a straw wattle during construction. And then prior to construction beginning, installing those erosion and sediment controls, and then contacting me to do a site visit just to inspect those, and then you can begin work.
Okay, and then will you just, I believe there was a erosion control showed on the site plan. Is that basically the area that you'd like to see it? Or if you have any idea of where you'd like that, how long should the silt fence be, or any of those recommendations?
Yep. So yeah, I would, the location of the erosion and sediment controls are adequate on the site plan.
Okay,
So yeah, a straw wattle or silt fence is sufficient.
okay. Thank you, Joe.
Anyone on the board have any comments? This is pretty straightforward on my end. I have nothing.
I have one question, Mr. Chairman. Is this on town sewer or septic?
It's on septic,
Where's the septic tank?
on the front of the house.
Okay. That's all the questions I have.
Anyone else? This is a public hearing. Does anyone from the public want to speak? I see no one coming up. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Can I get a motion for a negative determination of applicability with the order conditions discussed during this conversation?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have item agenda D, request for determination of applicability, Robert Cooper, 513 Roger Street, Assessors Map 8, Lot 6. Anyone for that, please step up to the podium and introduce yourself.
Hello. How you doing?
Can you please introduce your name and address for the record?
Yeah, my name is Robert Cooper. I reside at 513 Rogers Street in Tewksbury.
Do you have anything to present tonight?
Yeah, so I bought my home about 20 months ago, and I had a shed replaced, and it was about 13 feet from my neighbor's property line, and there were no issues. I pulled a permit. And so this year I got another shed, and it's about almost 40 feet from my neighbor's property line. It's further off of it. So I applied for a permit, and then in January, I did it in plenty of time, and I ordered the shed early because I know there's a shortage of everything. And then I called the building inspector's office in April to tell them I was having the shed delivered Friday. And then Thursday, I had a call from Joe Fontaine from Conservation. He said he had to come out and take a look. And he determined that there was some possible wetlands in the side of my yard. So it appears that my neighbor had their driveway replaced a few months after I bought my house. There were no water issues. Ever since they had it replaced in the winter, there's some type of spring that comes up by the garage and the water runs off. And it appears somebody from that side of the property dug a trench. There's a man-made trench going into my property, which the water flowed into it, and now Joe Fontaine determined that there could possibly be some wetlands there. So I already placed my pavers down, ready for the shed to go. The shed was coming the next day. They would have charged me $2,000 if they couldn't deliver the shed, and then I would be put back into the end of the line. I wouldn't get it till October. So I had to have the shed delivered. I'm not occupying the shed until we resolve this. So I'm just asking if the Conservation Committee could take into consideration that there may be some wetlands there due to a man-made trench that I did not approve and I did not know of till Joe came out. And I took pictures to prove it if anybody wants to see it. Would you like to see it?
Do you have them printed out?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. You can share those with the commission.
Okay, just so you can clearly see it's man-made.
I guess while the pictures are going around, Joe, do you want to give your comments? I know you have a bunch of them.
So,
Yeah. I'll
Sure, start on one side, go around.
Thank you.
All right.
but the first shed I put in, there was no issues. The second shed is even further away from that area, so I was surprised to even see there was an issue. And here I am, you know, I spent, it was $13,000 for the shed, and now I don't know what to do with it. I can't occupy it until we resolve this, so. pretty, But as you can clearly see, it was man-made. I didn't authorize it. I didn't notice it until Joe came out.
Yep.
But I did speak to my neighbor, and I don't know if he did anything, but in the last 3 or 4 weeks, it like mysteriously kind of dried up. The trench is still there, but there's no more water.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if he did something, but it appears to be dry now. I don't know if Joe could come back out and reassess or.
So yes, I did a site visit. There's a thin strip of isolated wetlands next to the shed. It's approximately 15 feet away from where the pavers are. Regarding the existing shed that was there was a permit pulled for that in July, or June or July. And I'm not sure if a site visit was ever done by conservation. This is prior to, me coming here. So there was a permit pulled for that. I just don't know if a site visit was ever conducted to actually check the proximity of the shed, the existing shed to this isolated wetland.
That's what I was gonna ask you about. Is it the existing shed the same size and roughly the same distance away as the new proposed shed?
It's closer. It's not in the wetland, but it's,
Yeah.
it's like a small trough.
But
There is what appears to be a man-made trench that conveys water from one property to another. So as it stands right now, that shed, the proposed shed subject to this public hearing, is about 15 feet away from this small isolated wetland. So, let's see.
the grass between the shed and the supposedly wetland area is maintained. It's cut every week with a lawnmower. So there's plenty of room behind the shed. You can park a car behind the shed. I mean, there's plenty of room. It doesn't go right up to it, but,
So what I was going to remind the commission of is if a waiver were to be granted from the no disturb zone setback, the bylaw says where the strict application of this bylaw or the rules and regulations adopted by the Tewksbury Conservation Commission owing to the shape or topography of the applicant's property would impose severe economic hardship as defined either in statute or case law on the applicant, taking into account an investment-based expectation. So that establishes the reasoning for granting a waiver from the no disturb zone.
Can I ask one question about that? Is there any way you can move that shed so it's 25 feet away from the wetland, or does it have to go exactly where you put it?
like I said, I had to have it delivered.
So it's delivered and sitting on that pad
It's
right
sitting
now?
on it, yeah. To move it, I called it. It's $1,000 to move it. I mean, I applied for the permit back in January to avoid any issues, and this was thrown on me. Monday morning, I was happy that my shed was coming Friday, and my world was turned upside down when I was informed there was an issue with possible wetlands.
So it's about whether the commission feels a waiver is necessary in this situation and whether this condition meets the definition of.
My neighbor's shed, who I'm suspicious he dug the trench, is closer to that wet area than the new shed. But his shed has been there. It was there before I bought my house, so.
So what we're dealing with, the shed is already there.
Yeah.
Joe, I see your site visit was on April 21st. Were you aware the shed was going to be delivered and implications of it coming?
Yeah.
No. So I think in that respect, I'm fine with granting the waiver because you had the opportunity to ask him to move it 25 feet away at that point in time, right?
And you got a building permit ahead of time?
I did. Yeah, we applied for the building permit. I submitted a check. And I called them Monday just to remind them, hey, just a reminder, we're having the shed delivered on Friday. They said, okay, and I think they put it on your desk on Wednesday, and then
Yeah.
you called me Thursday. So I wish I had known in advance, I could have called off the shed till we resolved this out, but it was, the shed was being delivered in less than 24 hours from when Joe called me. I had no choice. I follow rules, I don't break laws, but I had to have it delivered. I didn't want to lose that,
So regarding your question, though, I informed him about the 25-foot no disturb zone, but also the potential of the waiver as well.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so
You
we,
informed
all
him of the waiver at the time.
right, so you did it by the numbers. You applied for a building permit, you got there.
yeah, I did everything, you know?
All right,
And the other thing, Mr. Chairman, is it does look like the trench was dug,
Yes.
like stormwater, so I don't have a problem with the waiver.
I don't either. Based on the situation and the
yeah.
events described.
And he's
I-
trying to do it the correct way.
Yeah, everybody said it was a fool for pulling a permit, but I go by the book, you know, so, you know, you try and do the right thing, and my neighbor digs a trench, you know, and
So in that respect, Joe, is there anything besides the standard order of conditions that you want to apply for, is there anything else, is there anything left to do on this project, or is the shed there, everything's done?
the shed's there, I mean, it's done. It's resting on blocks, you know,
So is that going to change? Is it going to always in perpetuity rest on blocks, or are you trying to change how
no,
it rests?
no, that's how they put them in, they just rest
Okay.
them on blocks.
Yeah, so in that case, if the commission were to issue a negative determination, I would not have, it's basically just the commission approving.
Correct, there's no conditions at this point in time.
So you're not gonna be digging to nothing?
No.
It's all grass, yeah.
Okay.
All right. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone to speak in favor or against this project? I see no one coming to the podium. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Can I get a negative determination of applicability for this project with no conditions applied?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. You're all set.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next is Agenda Item E, request for determination of applicability, James Andela, 20 Sophie Way, 155 East Street Development, Assessors Map 61, Lot 127. Please introduce your name and address for the record.
Hi, Mr. Chairman, Jim Mandela, 70 Johnny Smith Drive, Tewksbury.
Do you have anything to present on the project?
Oh, I already passed it all in, just basically looking to, the bylaw says we can, but I didn't ask when I got the house permission, so I have to ask for the deck to be there. So I'm just looking to put a deck in the no-build zone, like the bylaw says we can.
Joe, any comments?
Yeah. So this is a RDA for a site already managed under a order of conditions for DEP file 3051068. So basically, under that order of conditions was proposed construction of a single-family home, but the site plans for that project just didn't include the deck for the house. And so that house, or that deck associated with the house is proposed to be built within the no disturb zone, or no build zone, rather. And in accordance with our bylaw, it's not an exempt activity, but the bylaw does not consider decks as a structure within the no build zone. So that's why we're here today, is just to recognize it, that it's not an exempt activity, but a deck is still allowed within the no build zone. So that being said, if the commission were to issue a negative determination of applicability, I would recommend the usual installing and maintaining erosion and sediment controls, such as a silt fence, straw wattle, compost filter tube, and then contacting me once those are established. And establishing them prior to any construction of the deck.
So is the construction still going on and the DEP file numbers are still open?
Correct. There was a recent extension, I believe, for
Correct.
this project.
So are everything when your site visited, do you visit the site for this RDA?
Yes, it is.
How are the erosion controls, how's the project going
Yeah,
to
so
date?
for that project, it has been a while since any construction has occurred. And so there are still erosion and sediment controls, there's no breakthrough or anything. But as I told Jim here, they do need to be refreshed at some point prior to construction being started again, with a silt fence, compost filter tube. So, but that's for a separate project.
Yep. Well, is it separate, or is it the same DEP file number, so it wouldn't be the same project?
Well,
It's still the same project, so it'd be
Yeah.
the same DEP number.
well, this is an RDA versus the order.
Right.
The notice of intent, but,
Correct, yeah.
yeah, same.
But we
same.
can still put in the order conditions to refresh, or to put a new erosion control, right? As part of this order conditions?
Yeah, yeah.
Anyone else on the commission have any questions?
I have none.
No questions.
This is a public hearing. Does anyone want to speak for or against this project? No one's coming up. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Can I have a motion to issue a negative determination of applicability for this project with the order conditions discussed?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know if someone's here for B.
Is anyone here for agenda item B? All right.
Tell them what it is.
Move. What?
What is agenda
The
item?
violation notice,
Yeah.
2493 Main Street LLC.
That's, make sure they know that they don't have agendas in front of them.
Should.
Is anyone here for 2493 Main Street? Okay.
Next is agenda item F, notice of intent. Matt Hammer on behalf of Richard Hupper, 60 Highland View Road, Assessors Map 23, Lot 53, DEP file number 305-1155. Please introduce yourself for the record.
Good evening. My name is Matt Hammer with Lamplex Engineering Survey.
Thank you. Do you have anything you want to present to the commission?
I do, Chair. For the record, we've been before the commission a few months ago initially for this project. And one of the reasons for doing that was to ensure that any concerns that the commission had was going to be incorporated into the plans while it was going through the engineering review through the planning board. So through that process of originally presenting the project to the commission, we had identified some additional potential wetland area on the adjacent property. There wasn't a lot of concern from the commission overall about the nature of the development. And so what we've been doing over the past couple months is going through different revisions based on the comments provided by the engineering department in the DPW. So we've been continuing, and I appreciate your patience with the process. And we feel as though we're right getting towards the end. So we've done some additional soil testing out at the site. We've been revising and doing different configurations of drainage, primarily related to the comments coming back from the town engineer. So instead of just requesting a continuance in an email, I thought I would come here this evening and in person. I can go through what those changes have been within the drainage system, which is essentially underneath the parking area. or I can answer any questions that the commission has. I do have full-size plans with me. I can put them on the presentation board for everyone to look at. I have full-size plans with me tonight if folks want to look at to scale drawings in full size. We'll be submitting these plans that you have before you over to the planning department by Friday of this week, accompanied with an updated stormwater report, as well as a response to comments letter, which I believe has been CC'd to Mr. Fontaine throughout this process. So I can put it to the commission if they want to ask any questions, or I can go through some of the changes if you'd like as well.
We'll start with Joe. I know you got a bunch of comments, so questions?
Yeah. So the primary concern for engineering and planning was related to stormwater. Is that
Yeah.
correct? Yeah.
Essentially, there's been some revisions, slight revisions related to the curb cut, with overlapping comments from the fire department and DPW, so there's been some slight modifications on the entrance. But primarily, it's been drainage related.
Okay. So there's no proposed drainage structure within a jurisdictional area, but in the top right-hand corner, there's just a conduit that goes across the street that leads to that other wetland system that we identified.
Yeah, they have a drainage swale on the shoulder of the parking area that is connected via a drainage pipe underneath the access drive that outlets to a wetland area.
Right. So I guess what I was trying to get at is there's a drainage outfall proposed, right outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. So despite it being outside of a jurisdictional area, it just has a direct conduit to a wetland area. So I would defer to just waiting until engineering approves of everything so that it's, complies with the stormwater standards or whatever, just to be safe.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. I think it needs to be signed off by the planning board before we touch it.
So the other thing I noticed that today or yesterday was, so right next to that drainage outfall, there's a sedimentation basin in the stockpile area. And again, there's that trough that kind of is flowing towards that swale. So I just would want to avoid, washout of soil stockpile in that area and directing any sediment-laden water towards that pipe, which would then go to the wetland. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so the sedimentation area is, protected in and itself by the detail. I can also say that the stockpiling area, we're not anticipating really having anything there, which is a request that was made to identify an area to
Okay.
have that there.
I got you.
There's going to be an additional document that's going to be brought through the town, which is the stormwater pollution prevention plan, because we did go over 1 acre of land disturbance. So there'll be an entire stormwater pollution prevention plan per the National Pollution Elimination Discharge Program for the general permit with the EPA. And that in itself has an entire document that further provides information related to erosion control.
So has your SWIP been approved yet, or no?
The SWIP will be approved prior to construction. I imagine a copy of that could be on file at Joe's office as well. But it's essentially a compilation of all these documents with the inspection forms and the general permits within that document as well. So we're gonna have another layer of of control to govern the erosion here.
Will you have an MSGP permit or no? Since you're under an acre, you won't have one really?
This is gonna be a NIPD's permit. This is gonna be a stormwater permit. It's gonna be a land disturbance permit.
Um, Yeah, I guess just continuing the soil stockpile on the sedimentation basin, I would at least not have a sedimentation basin there, just because it would go directly to that pipe. You know what I'm saying?
So the reason why we put it in the back over there was because we feel as though it's better to have that sedimentation basin on that side because we have full vegetation from there to that adjacent property.
Okay,
And it's gonna be a little bit of a slump down there, as opposed to having it towards the road. And if you go towards the road, we have runoff that heads towards that, wetland, and would be
Okay.
within the 100-foot buffer, so that seemed like the most logical place for
okay.
it.
That's fair.
And we put it as far away on that backside.
Yeah,
From
like,
that
yeah.
corner, so.
Does anyone else on the commission have any questions?
I have none.
I'm good. Steve?
I'm good.
Joe?
I'm just working through my comments here. So again, I think my comments are kind of geared towards protecting anything from getting to that pipe. So would any erosion and sediment controls along the rear side be proposed?
There is, I mean, there's a straw wattle that encompasses the entire site.
Oh, okay.
And part of the stormwater pollution prevention plan is to stabilize slopes within a certain time frame after they've been installed. So that's an additional control which will stabilize that slope, which currently is at a 3-to-1, which isn't very steep. So we're not anticipating having any runoff in terms of having accumulated flow that you typically see on a larger hill with a larger contributing area, and then you have to worry about rilling and concentrated flows to getting towards those discharge analysis points. So I feel confident that this is gonna be okay. And the other thing too is the drainage system will be put in first. So that discharge point with that riprap area and that corner is gonna provide an additional barrier if anything starts to accumulate on that backside and wanna go down to that corner.
Alrighty, no further comments?
So it sounds like we're gonna wait until further plans are approved by the engineering department and building department.
I think we have to
Yep.
wait for the,
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone that wants to speak regarding this project? Since we're continuing, there's nothing to vote on, right?
we vote on the continuance.
Can I have a motion to continue this project?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you for your time and your patience. Thank you.
Next item is agenda item G, notice of intent, 40 Long Meadow Road. Richard Kuko on behalf of Rick Sanichuk, Assessors Map 26, Lot 124, DEP file number 3051159. Please introduce yourself once you get set up.
All this modern stuff works. might take a minute for the bulb to warm up, I guess. All right. Hey,
Can you just introduce yourself for the record again?
yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Richard Cuco from Woodland Design, representing S&R Realty Trust for a notice of intent on 40 Long Meadow Road. Well, that's coming up. The property is, it's about 8 acres of land on frontage on Andover Street and on Long Meadow Road. And what we're proposing is to construct a single-family home that is just to the right-hand side of number 34 Long Meadow Road. The property's got quite an extensive wetland area on it, as you can see from the plans. And what we have is, there's a small finger of wetlands that comes across in the vicinity of parallel to Long Meadow Road. So in order to get to the upland area where we're proposing to put in the single-family home, we have to make a crossing for the driveway. So we had a crossing in there, which is about 400 square feet, to allow us to have driveway access up into where the home is going to be constructed. In order to attenuate for the driveway and some runoff from the proposed dwelling, we're proposing to have a rain garden constructed on either side of the driveway coming in off of Long Meadow Road. The other situation we have is back in the early 70s, I guess I'll bring the boards next time.
1 second. IT's coming to fix.
I had so many exhibits, I thought this would be.
Yeah, just keep going.
Okay, so in the 70s, way back in the 70s, when the sewer was first installed on Long Meadow Road, it's the major trunk line for almost all the sewerage in Tewksbury that comes through that area. It's a 48-inch sewer. And at the time, they put in a stub for this lot, because this lot was in existence back in the day. Well, when they had put that stub in, the property there wasn't any wetland in that particular area. So we're talking, 50 years ago? Well, that stub happens to be about 4 or 5 feet into the wetlands. And because it's a 48-inch sewer, tapping into it is in another location is not something that DPW would want us to do. They don't want us to have any loss of integrity in the sewer. So what we're proposing is to tie into that existing stub. So we would have to have a temporary, you can see on the lower left corner of the lot, we're showing a temporary disturbance of a small wetland finger in order to put the sewer service in. And at that point in time, probably be about a 2-day process to put the sewer in that location, and then we would put that hydric soil and everything that's in that wetland area right back in again and have the restoration take place almost immediately. And just beyond that, we have a replication area for the driveway crossing. We're proposing to do it in the, when we probably like sometime maybe in the middle of August, so that would be a dry period. But in any event, in case there is dewatering, Joe had asked us to, put together a dewatering detail. So on sheet C3, we have the location and a detail for any dewatering that we would have to do. That sewer stub, gentlemen, is only down about 4 feet, so it's not like we're gonna have a very large trench, probably still need a trench box because the soil is so active in there, but we should be able to get through that crossing area in a short period of time. But if there is dewatering that's required, we have a detail proposed, which is a standard dewatering detail that even DPW uses, that we would have the dewatering go over into what will eventually be one of our rain gardens. The water service will come up the driveway, so we won't have to do any additional wetland crossing on the driveway. So in the driveway, we'll have the water service and we'll have conduit for the cable, electric, and I don't know if anybody still does telephone anymore, but usually you put in a 4-bank conduit in case something comes along later on. So that would all be underneath the driveway. So the area that we were proposing to fill was about 4,800 square feet, and we had 1,000 square foot replication area. Joe had asked us to take a look at if we could reduce that area. I did send him a revised plan where I could cut that area down to a little under 300 feet. The only reason that we didn't do that initially is it would create like a low depression ponding area that would be isolated and would be sitting there by itself, and we just thought that might be a mosquito breeding ground. But either way, we could do it. If we do go with the revised plan that cuts the driveway alteration down to 280 feet, then we would reduce the wetland replication area from 1,000 feet to 520 feet, so it would be a lot less impact in the area. Schedules conflicted, so we weren't able to have a site walk, so we're expecting, a continuance this evening. Joe and Maureen from Norse Environmental, and hopefully myself will be able to get out there on the 2nd, I think it is, Joe, and we can, take a good look at everything on site. But wanted to at least get your feedback on whether you thought, Joe, if you had any thought on my concern about having that little isolated pocket over there, or, if you wanted us to go with the revision 2 that we submitted, so that when we get out there and walk around, we'll have a better feel for what we might want to do there.
Yeah. I see your point about extending the proposed fill area just so it's non-isolated. I'm not sure if you could install like a pipe underneath the driveway that connects.
We could put a smaller, that was my other thing. I didn't put it on the plan, but I think I mentioned it to you in your email that, we could put a small equalizer pipe over there so that whatever function it has would still, the culvert, we're only talking about maybe, we'd probably use like a heavy-duty plastic, pipe so that, not going to be compromised, but we could do that.
Yeah, I like that idea, but, so starting with the top are my comments for this. The wetland replication plan, I would recommend that the commission receives like a separate plan that identifies, the types of plants that will be planted at a certain densities, X amount of shrubs, trees, herbaceous plants per 100 feet, for example, something to that effect. More information for the wetland restoration plan. Also presenting a strategy to restore temporary alterations to BVW. I know there will be temporary alterations for that sewer line, but just having some sort of explicit language saying, you're going to do, apply this seed here once it's all set. And then I like the signage at the 25-foot no disturb zone. The commission is in the process of obtaining new medallions, so just be aware of that.
Yeah, on my revised plan, I put are approved by the Conservation Commission, so that if you have something in between,
Okay.
I wanted to make sure we had at least something, so that's not a problem.
Okay. And as stated, I haven't walked the site yet, and I will on June 2nd, just to review the wetland boundary and just to go over the site as well.
I do, with that comment, I think we should have a third party do that evaluation too.
Okay. So just to include any decks or any other accessory structures for the single-family home, just so we're not coming back with an RDA or something at a future time?
Yeah, I mean, we got the deck on there. One of the situations we always run into is, we're showing a house that's probably maybe even bigger than what would be built out there, but somebody comes along and wants the house, we kind of show a very large footprint and then hopefully maybe a smaller one so that we don't have to come back. So we're kind of anticipating that if this were being built for a specific owner, then we could probably, get a little bit more finite in the details. But so, I mean, it's 64 foot by 32 feet, which is, probably not going to be built that size. But if something comes up between now and when we conclude the hearing, we'll add anything on there. Maybe I might add a shed in just so that something is out there that, we left, the reason we positioned it the way we did is so that when we grade for that yard, we know that somebody's gonna wanna maybe put in a patio, somebody's maybe even wanna come back in and put a pool in. So we gave them an area back there that they would be able to do that in. But we've been kind of putting in all the purchase and sales agreements now with new construction, just to inform people that what's on this plan has been approved by the Conservation Commission. If you want to put in a pool, if you want to change the driveway, if you want to do anything, we put it right in the purchase and sales agreement that they know that they have to come back here, or they have to at least make an appointment and meet with Joe to find out whether they need to come back in again. So that we're finding out that if you put it in the P&S, then it gets the development side off the hook to say, hey, you were warned, you were told that you can't do anything without coming back in here. One of the things that what we would request is that after we have the meeting, the replication plan and the operation plan and so forth and so on, my client has asked if that could be a condition of the order of conditions prior to us, getting the actual final order of conditions so that he's trying to keep his costs down to a minimum, and that way he knows that the commission is happy with the work that's going to be done, and then just make it subject to, then we'll get all that stuff to you for your approval, and then take the final vote, something to that effect, if that's possible.
So was that last comment, so just the commission approving of everything else but the restoration plan?
Right.
Okay,
You make it, what we've done in the past, we say, subject to restoration plan, construction sequence, and, something of that nature that has to be to your satisfaction.
before,
No, that basically would be like a straw vote.
as a condition of the order of conditions?
Yes.
So,
Well, we've done it that way. If that's not something that you're comfortable with, then what we would do is ask the commission at the next hearing, okay, have we satisfied all the requirements? And if the commission says, yeah, they're comfortable with it, then we could do the restoration plan, and then you'd issue the order of conditions, so it wouldn't be a subject to at that point.
yeah, I mean, my recommendation was to to have the restoration plan reviewed and approved prior to issuing an order. Because usually, I mean, there's a lot of trust if we do that without an approved restoration plan.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, the largest part of, from a conservation perspective, like, the largest part of this project is the restoration, so.
Right, and that's an expensive proposition too, so that's why if we, I don't know if you want to do it in the form of a straw vote, and then we continue for 2 weeks until we get, 4 weeks, whatever, until we get the plan, and you get it, you review it and make sure you're happy with it, and then come back and vote on it. It's a little unorthodox, but, you know.
Yeah, I understand what you're
Yeah.
trying to do, yeah. I guess, again, my recommendation would be to, before issuing a final order of conditions, to have the restoration plan reviewed and approved, but
Yeah.
anything in between, if we want to, yeah, take a straw vote as far as approving the location of the house and whatnot, that's fine.
Yeah.
Will there be any grading modifications done around the proposed dwelling? It looks like there's a 8-foot difference, 6-foot difference.
Yeah, so
Of course,
the heavy lines with the little square boxes on them, those are the proposed contours.
Oh.
And then what we've done is, on the revision plans, we've added some notation just to make sure that they know that, you know, when you get close to the dwelling, you have to come back up again so that the water sheds away from the foundation. And then we added a note on the new plan to make sure there's a 2% cross slope on the driveway, because we want the driveway runoff to be shedding into the rain gardens.
Then will all the excess soil be taken off-site? Or will it be used for grading purposes afterwards?
There's gonna be a little bit of excess export, but, yeah, it'll probably be, anything that's exported will be taken off-site, some of the grading that's up in the back there. We're gonna be, anything, some of the soil will be reclaiming, because it'll be good to mix in with the hydric soil in the restoration areas. There'll be some export because we have to hog out about 1.5 feet to do the rain gardens also. And we want to make sure that those have the proper soil in them. You know, I mean, the whole function of the rain garden is it can't be too sandy. You know, it has to be able to support the plant life that's going to be in there.
One of my comments was DPW and the engineering division is aware of the sewer tie-in
Yes,
location, correct?
Yeah, but that was one of the first thing I did. I got in touch with DPW and asked them, you know, would they allow us to do a chimney drop? And they said, if you can do a temporary alteration, their preference is to use the stub that's already there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And stormwater from the house is being, how is that being treated? Is it being infiltrated? I forget.
Well, yeah, basically what we're gonna be doing on that one, I'll give a detail on that, is we're gonna be using, nobody likes to have gutters, so we're gonna be using like a 3-foot stone overhang on the drip edge around it to get the recharge of the roof runoff, because that's clean water. And then everything else is basically sheet flowing across what lawn, and what's coming off the driveways are going into the rain gardens. So I can add that detail for the roof. Some of these roofs are too big to even try to do underground infiltration, so it's, I know when I had my house, I just wanted the stone trench, because then I'd have to go out and clean the gutters. And I didn't have to worry about ice dams, so.
Any other questions from the commission?
I have none at this time.
This is a public hearing. Does anyone want to step up? Please step up to the podium and introduce your name and address for the record.
It's George Pucci, and it's 34 Long Meadow Road. He's talking about putting in a driveway, I believe, on the left side of 34. And that, every time it rains, there's at least a foot of water there. I want to know where that water's going to go. We get water in our basement now. Every time it rains, we have a pump constantly running. So I want to know where this water's going to go, and what he's going to do with the water in the wetlands. Where is that water going to go? Is that going to be a problem with my basement getting flooded every time it rains or the snow melts? I mean, I wanted to put a pool in, and Joe came up and saw it, and there was no way because of the wetlands, the 50-foot no-build zone. And I mean, so I'd like to know where all this water is gonna go.
Can you please field the question?
Yeah, so basically the water, George, the water that comes down the road comes into this area.
This
just-
isn't water from the road, this is from the rain falling on the grass, and it builds up to at least a foot of water. The kids were out there this winter ice skating on it.
Would you like me to answer the question, or do
Oh,
you
all right,
want
go
to
ahead.
answer the question? So what we have is basically, this property kind of acts as a detention basin for the area. It gets flooded. So basically, what goes in there now and what floods in there now is still going to continue to flood in there. We're just filling in 400 square feet and we're replicating. So if we fill in 200 square feet and we give you back 600 square feet, there's no loss in any flood storage. If there's water in the basement now, there's still gonna be water in the basement. Basically, what happens is the homes, when they were constructed more than 20 years ago, nobody ever went out and tested the water table to see where, under the code, you're supposed to have 2 feet of separation from seasonal high water to the bottom of your basement. Anything that was built prior to 1980 doesn't have that. Then actually with sewerage now, they still don't. Now that we have sewerage and we're not doing deep holes and perk tests, nobody checks that, but we do it anyways now because it's in the building code. So if there's water in the basement, there'll probably still be water in the basement. But what we're doing is we're hogging out 2 areas in order to contain whatever additional runoff that we're having from our property, and that's all we can do. We can't solve the issues that are out
I'm
there
not
now.
asking you to solve it, I'm asking you not to add to it.
Yes, what we're saying is, whatever we're adding to, we're compensating for. So we're putting in 2 rain gardens in order to attenuate for what we're filling in for the driveway.
And what about the indentation that's gonna be a pool that he was saying could end up being a mosquito-infested area? What's gonna be done about that? I mean, I have children that go over there and everything.
Yeah.
I mean,
What we did was, we just decided tonight that we're not going to leave that small isolated area. We're gonna connect it with a pipe so that it won't be stagnant and be a mosquito pit.
I don't approve of it, but I don't have a final say.
Thank you. Anyone else want to come up? Hear no one. We will be continuing this meeting, so can I have a motion to continue the public hearing and the meeting?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
I'll bring boards next time.
Can't trust technology sometimes.
Well.
All right, circling back to agenda item B, violation notice 2493 Main Street LLC, 2493 Main Street, Assessors Map 94, Lot 57, continued from May 11, 2022. No one is here for that. We will
Yeah, no one's here. I got an email saying that he may not be here today, so.
we need a vote to continue this, so it's just automatically continued.
That's violation
Yep.
notice, that's just administrative.
All right. Old business,
I have none.
None.
new business?
None.
Wow, that's impressive. Can I get a motion to close the meeting?
So moved.
So moved. Yeah,
Can I
second.
get a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.